Yeah, we'll put a note at the beginning on this one.
I should have said before we started, please don't be driving a car if you're listening to this.
Welcome to that spiritual, actual, factual answers to questions you asking. You find them inside you, recite you, reciting the records of cash. We laughing, we drafting the passion through vary. It's time for that comedy, dramedy, all of the fanciest, catchiest acronyms. Listeners, listen, we traveling. Conscious is always unraveling. The reading you're having is mapping you back to your natural habitat. Abracadabra, it's magicless, fascinating. To top it off, the host, all the classiest. Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers? What? All the answers.
Okay, are we recording? Because I have things to share. So, I wanted to start, look, I have blue teeth because I've been having freeze-dried blueberries.
You haven't been blowing Smurfs?
That's what freeze-dried blueberries means.
Oh, I didn't realize.
We just have to have a little butt stuff bleed in from the last episode.
Right. We're going to be really serious today, but first,
butt stuff. Jokes. So I have a friend here in Memphis who told me that her astrologer said, I know I told you guys this privately, but I'm going to say it here, that we won't have election results for a few days, but when we get them, it's like slam dunk Biden. No doubt about it. 100% for sure Z's Biden. And I was like, it was interesting for me to hear that because it made me realize how guarded I've been internally against even thinking about that possibility. It's like my psyche did this thing where it was like, well, we're resigned to shit. So just be like, I'm not going to open my heart to the possibility of Biden because that's going to be
dangerous. Hope is really dangerous. It feels dangerous.
Exactly. And sometimes it's also delusional. And it's hard to know when it's delusion and when it's just dangerous and scary. Anyway, I didn't even realize I was sort of like defending against wanting it until she said that, and everything in my body lit up. And I went, oh my God, it will be so good. It will be so good. And I was so happy. And then I could feel like the consciousness of the country and then the earth, like elevate and lighten just at the mere notion of it. And then I made this video this morning that I was telling you guys about, just about how, like, just for the listeners, you know, I believe the spiritual path, a lot of it is about, we have our human experience all the time. And then we come back to the river of light or the alignment with the divine as often as we can, so that whether we're too excited or too sad, too angry or too tired, wherever we are that's not in the center and not at peace, we can come back to peace. And so someone asked me this morning, like, how do you feel about the election? And my first thought was like, what election? I literally forget about it. I forget because I'm busy doing this stuff, you know, and I'm busy actively staying out of those polarities that we all get so I'm just like, I don't want to engage with all of that. I'm right. He's wrong. I voted. I'm doing the work I can do for myself and for other humans. Those are the things I know that this nervous system is here to do and that this nervous system can handle. Like, I'm not someone who could handle getting deeply involved in politics because it pulls me so hard in whichever direction, and it's so draining and it doesn't pay off for me. So I do what I consider my civic duty, and then I kind of stay out of it because I don't need the drama. But then after I got over my what election, I was like, I told her the story about the friend who said the thing about the astrologer. And I was like, so clearly my preference is clear. It's just that I'm not willing to get so attached to the outcome that I'm like stressed about it. I'm just not willing to do that with a lot of things at this point in my life. Like, anything I get that attached to the outcome of fucks with my nervous system. And then I'm really tired and usually I end up overeating. And it's like not worth it. I'd rather stay in the spiritual center, which I can't do perfectly. So I need a practice, and that's what puts me back in the thing. Blah, 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 blah. So the paradox is present of I have a strong preference. I have a strong and clear preference. And no matter what happens, I'm going to come back to the river of light. I'm going to come back to the divine, whether I'm thrilled about Biden or I'm angry about Trump. there's only one solution to either thing in terms of maintaining peace and centeredness, which then allows me to move forward with whatever civic duties I feel are called to engage in. And that is to come back to the alignment anyway. So how do I feel about the election? I feel like it's a thing that will push me from either direction to come back to the spiritual alignment, which if tomorrow were just a normal Thursday would push me to come back to the spiritual alignment. The wind blowing would cause me to come back to the spit. So I'm kind of like, it's just another day. And I get that none of that is to dismiss the significance of all the policies that will happen or not happen, and all the people who will be oppressed or not oppressed, and all of the women and the Black Lives Matter movement and the everything that could have its problems as a result of whichever way this goes. This is not to dismiss any of that, but it's to say, whichever way it goes, the solution is the same. Come back to the river of light, so that, or to your spiritual practice, so that whether I need to show up to a march, or I need to work hard for women's rights, or I need to support my friends of color, I don't want to do any of that stuff from a place inside myself that is in resistance, reaction, anger, resentment, upset. I want to do it RBG style. I want to do it Ruth Bader Ginsburg style, where if you haven't seen the documentary about her wizardry was to somehow, she had this, God, she's an amazing person. This ability to stand up for her point of view and what she thought was right for the world, while never personalizing what the other side did, never attacking, never getting mad, never blaming, shaming, judging. You watch her in these interactions in the documentary, talking to her like opponent, her direct opponent. And she's just, God, you can just feel it. She's not swayed. She's not a reed in the wind, angry and then recovering, and then angry and then recovering, and then just despondent. And then she's right in the middle. She's centered. And she's like, actually, I think it's not great when we oppress people of color, my Republican friend. Maybe we should do it a different way. And he's like, duh, 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 duh. Here's why you're wrong. And she's like, I hear you. I don't think so, though. Here's what I'm thinking. It's so gentle and clear and aligned, and it never falls prey to the demand that the other side of the polarity is pushing on it. Mm. The polarity is pushing on her to go like, I'm pushing back, but she doesn't push back. She Tai Chi's it, the Wu Wei, where like you use the energy of your opponent who's coming at you in a fluid river-like way that just diverts the energy of it rather than resisting it, getting mad and sad and all fucked up about it, and then pushing back to prove your own power and your own rightness. Comes back to our conversation last week about proving. So I'm just not willing to be rocked too far in either direction by anything, including this, which I know is kind of a radical statement for people who think, well, if you're not being rocked by it, then you're asleep. Or if you're not being rocked by it, then you're privileged, and you're so privileged that you don't care. And you've taken a step outside reality and you're living in your spiritual bypass bullshit woo-woo land. To which I say, I don't agree. I feel at peace. And from a place of peace, I can show up for the civic actions that I can make a difference in. If I'm pissed, let me tell you, who the most useless person is in a trying to get stuff done situation? Me when I'm pissed. Nobody likes me. People fucking want me to leave the room when I'm pissed. I'm a nightmare to be around. People are like, ugh, Katie's mad. Nobody gets swayed by it. It never yields anything productive. There are people who, when they get pissed, people go like, yeah, go you. Yes. Okay, CO or whoever. I don't know. It's not my...
Right. Well, yeah. And anger and rage can be the triggers, but not the operating functions. They can be the thing that moves you to action.
That's right. But not the from
we
which
want, ideally, it sounds like what I'm hearing and what I kind of would take away from that myself is like, you still want any action, any what one might look at as resistance to actually come from the place of alignment and love, which isn't to say like, just turn the other cheek and just love the guy who's stepping on your neck. No, fuck that.
No.
If the stick comes to the house, you got to hit the stick back. But that's referencing very weirdly another story you've told.
Yeah, no.
But for you as a spiritual warrior, in a sense, you have to operate from the realm of the divine. You can't operate from the realm of the
human,
of the human clash.
Well, I guess what I'll say, thank you for saying that back to me, because it gives me, I'm like, well, let's specify or hone in a little. There is such a thing as appropriate anger and appropriate rage. And like, I am too white and privileged to ever be in a position to say, no one should ever be angry and act from anger. Like, I'm thinking of what, oh no, what is his name? I'm a little spacey today. Host of the funny TV show, Trevor Noah. What Trevor Noah said about like, well, you white folks. He didn't say you white folks, but it was, duh.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
You don't really get to say how people protest. If people are pissed, they get to go, fuck you, whitey, in the street, if that's what they want to fucking do. To which I go, you are correct. Boy, is that correct. But I'm talking about, let me put it in a more personal way. I'm a woman, believe it or not.
I think I've heard that before.
I do have the
I don't have demonstrable proof of it, but
yeah. Well, you've seen my boobs.
Not all the way, No,
I
don't think so. Why would I have?
In a dressing room in a show? No nips, lips?
No nips. Sorry, not to get off subject. This is important stuff, but let's talk about how I haven't seen Katie's nipples.
Well, we were better friends than that, frankly.
I am too, but who am I to say I'm disappointed in that? That feels weird.
Anyway,
but
these are jokes we're telling. As a woman, right, there's stuff where I have to have my own righteous anger about the oppression that women experience. I believe in when a thing happens that's unjust toward me because I'm a woman and it's obvious, better believe there's going to be some anger coming from this system in that moment. And when that moment passes, for my own health, sanity, and wellness, and in order for things to move forward in any kind of productive way, I personally need to come back to the river of light and the expanded energy of unity and non-judgment and love. Like if you do a white guy oppressive thing at me and I just push back, and then I never come back to you from a space of love and unity, you and I will just carry that weird tension that is unspoken between us now forever. Because you oppressed and I try to oppress back. Now we're like a little mad and a little hurt under the surface forever. Unless we're both like ninjas and doing both of our work all the time, which you and I are pretty decent at. So we kind of, but usually what has to happen is someone has to show up from the space of love, expansion, unity, oneness consciousness to move things forward between people. Otherwise that separation between the hearts remains present forever.
Yeah.
So it's not to say don't have anger. It's to say, okay, for me as someone who needs to stay in spiritual alignment for my own sanity and for my own balance, and because I believe that it is the way we are all going to move forward most effectively as a unified race of humans who, if we want to survive on the planet, I have to come around full circle to the peace, the oneness, the community, the communion, the wholeness, the love. I have to RBG it because we see that the Trump way,
winner, loser. Right.
Yeah.
The Trump way is winner, loser.
Yeah. Oppress them more, suppress them, control, dominate, don't listen, don't receive, certainly don't connect, don't, mediate, no, all of that doesn't work. And it certainly doesn't allow our planet to sustain itself. That's why the planet's all fucked up and the fucking weather is a problem and global warming. And that's the whole problem. So
Go ahead.
no,
Okay. We were talking about this in my house the other day. We're talking about sort of what happened in South Africa with the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, of which there is many problems, things that didn't actually happen as a result of that. But one aspect of that, but it still requires, and you were talking about, oneness and unity. If you and I have a clash, of some sort, especially an oppressive clash, you might come back with that love or the spirit of the light. But in order for there to be any healing, there still has to be, I still have to step to it. Like I, as the oppressor, have to, I feel, must have to own it. And then that got us into a conversation about, the 5, did we talk about this? There's the 5 love languages, but I was just reading by the same guy. He's now put out this thing that's like the 5, I want to say apology languages, which is kind of an interesting thing to explore. I don't totally agree with the delineation of it, same way I don't with the love languages thing, but it's really interesting to just explore the idea of actually, and also different people kind of in some way require different things.
Oh yeah.
Like for me, like if we have something between us that is broken, if I feel like you did something to hurt me and you want to apologize, I actually just need you to say, I did bad, I'm sorry, which is accepting responsibility and apologizing.
That's me.
Right. Someone else may very well need you to do something. Maybe not, they don't need you to grovel. Somebody actually might need you to do penance, which is more like groveling.
Yeah.
And these are all appropriate desires.
Right.
And the problem, just like love languages, we often operate from the position of what we require. So then I'm like, but I said I'm sorry and I owned it. Why are you still mad?
Right.
Anyway, that's kind of off the topic, but I feel like
it's not off the topic. And I'm so happy you brought that up, because here's how I see that. Okay. I think you and I have an argument now, and let's extrapolate out to like all of white people fuck over all of black people forever. That's the metaphorical extrapolation from you
pretty
and me.
much.
Let's make you
pretty right on the money. Let's
make you black people and I'm all white people. We've had an argument and I've been oppressing you forever and ever, because I have. Okay. I would say, or I would offer that my finally figuring my shit out and coming to you, as all of white people coming to you, all of black people. Wouldn't that be fun if there was like a representative who could just do that?
Just that simple.
Yeah. Bing, bing. And I say to you, and I own it. And I go, here's what I did. Here's the 70 million forms of oppression that are fucked. And here's why. I'm sorry. It was wrong. What can I do to make it different? Then you tell me a list, and then I start doing the things. Okay. And it's actually reparations.
Yeah.
I would argue that behavior is a behavior that emanates from the realm of love, unity, and oneness.
Right.
It's not antithetical to spirituality. Spirituality says, be in the realm of unity, love, oneness, forgiveness. Well, when you're in that realm, you can't help but apologize when you fuck up. Yeah. You actually can't. Your heart hurts when you hurt someone else. It hurts. So you're like, God, I got to call Cassidy right now and tell him I fucking feel terrible about the way I said that thing.
Right.
How did that land for you? And check in with you. And then we do reparations. So I'm saying that reparations, yes. And reparations don't come from fuck you.
Fine. Here's $1.
Yeah. They come from love.
Right. They have to. And I'll add on to that. I'm going to just keep metaphoring the metaphor of who we are individually as to who we are collectively, back and forth, that often what happens is out of that pain of knowing that I am wrong and have hurt you is where I react back worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's, the Proud Boy who's marching going, we will not be replaced. That dude is in so much pain.
Yeah.
And he probably knows how wrong he is, but he can't see it. He can't face it. And so he has to push back harder.
Right now, the way I would
more
say
horrifyingly. Yeah.
100%, 100% what you're saying. And what we could, so again, I'm just using all of this as a way to talk about spirituality, since that's kind of what we do here, right? Is that so I've had plenty of places in myself that have done that in my life where I go, no, I didn't, fuck you. Or like, I don't owe you anything. Ugh. That is always my ego having a hard time dying. And when the ego dies, we do feel a sense of identity death. And we do go through a grief process. And grief, as you and I know, is painful. And so that resistance comes from like, it's going to hurt and sting so much if I have to own how fucked that behavior was. So I'm not going to own it because it's too painful. And so my point being, that doesn't let those people off the hook.
Not at all.
I'm saying that we just want to label it correctly. We want to say, what is that? Oh, that's the ego that's afraid to die to the spirit. That's the pain, the heart that's afraid to hurt because it doesn't know yet. It's ignorant. And it doesn't know yet that on the other side of that pain is this freedom and this liberation into unity and love.
Yeah. And the worse you are, the worse you behave, the worse you oppress, the more your spirit is, metaphorically burning in the fires of hell. Like the more you are, the worse you are, the worse you are. Like it ain't just that person. It's not just the person you're oppressing that's suffering.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're the ones suffering right now, visually, visibly, because you're standing on their neck. But you are dying. You are murdering yourself, but not the right part of yourself.
That's right.
You're not murdering. You're not killing your ego. You're killing your soul.
You're keeping alive the part of your heart that facilitates separation.
Yeah.
Rather than letting it die so that there can be oneness.
Oh, that's huge. That just hit me. The part of you that facilitates separation, because that really does feel like the sort of collective difference, very broad paintbrush I'm about to fling here, but like the difference between operating for the small tribe good, individual good versus collective good. And that does feel like the sort of primary difference between the sort of Trump and non-Trump. Like that's a really broad paintbrush. But the idea of like, no, I must fight for what is mine, as opposed I must fight for what is ours, what is all.
Right. That's right.
That separation, woof, I don't know, that got me.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Fighting. Yeah, you're fighting for the part of you that is facilitate separation. Fuck that. So,
What we on the left have to watch for in ourselves when we get super righteous also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't mean lay down and do nothing. It means, are you coming at the conversation you're entering strong, clear, and open, or are you coming at it closed, right, and righteous?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to step to what we're talking about, our sort of special episode we're talking about today, which is just literally doing, it's a big undertaking, Katie, but just doing a group healing for bringing, I don't know what it is how you want to phrase it, but bringing ourselves back to the connection of the non-separation.
Yeah. We'll do that. And before just to sort of round that conversation out, we have to be real too and bring it back to the thing Cassidy used to say, like what you referenced earlier, my Jerusalem perfected master teacher guy used to say that, like, if they come to your house with fire and sticks and they break your windows with bricks, you have to like get up in your pajamas and probably maybe shoot them with guns.
Yeah. So
you don't kill your children in the night. Okay. Yeah. Like, otherwise they're going to kill you're not going to, come on. So that, and in other words, there's a time for anger. There is. And then we can't stay there. We have to go, and now what? Yeah. He used to always say, don't stop anywhere ever. In other words, you're angry? Good. Express that. Now what? Bring the light to it. What's behind that? With the light takes you to peace, liberation, freedom, oneness, and unity again. It's that we all want to stop with our righteous anger. And we get to see what's hard is when you oppress a people, all the people of color forever, you oppress them. They're going to need several minutes in a row to be allowed to be like, fuck all y'all.
And by minutes, we need decades. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm being silly when I say
I know.
In a row. So white people need to calm down for a second and let fucking people of color be fucking mad about it. You got to be mad. It's like if you had a lid on a geyser in the desert, geysers.
Yeah.
Like
I've heard of it.
that shoots from the earth.
Yeah.
Geysers.
Yes. Never seen one, but I know the theory.
You put a manhole on top of one. When you take the manhole off, it doesn't like gently, lovingly ooze around. It explodes.
Oh, thank you for taking that lid off.
I'm so gently grateful for your lid removal. No, it needs to geyser up and be pissed off. But guess what? I'm not a person of color. I don't need to geyser right now. I need to step out of the way so people who need to geyser can geyser. And then hopefully be here to hold their heart and their hand if they want it, whoever the fuck wants, to help facilitate them walking back into liberation that comes organically after the geyser.
Well, let's remember when you did Rami's reading and you said, Rami asked, what is my role in the revolution? And you said, what did you say?
That's so funny that
healer or peacemaker or whatever. But you do have a job, Katie. Your job, though, is to bring the light.
I know. But it's funny that you brought Rami up because I was going to bring them up earlier in this conversation by saying, I thought of Rami several minutes ago.
Huh.
Because Rami is the perfect example of somebody said to Rami, or maybe Rami went to somebody and said, what do I do? And that somebody said, you've got to get your warrior energy up. And they asked me in the records, do I have to get my warrior energy up? And what we got in the records was, no, not you. You are a nurturer, love warrior. You are a spirit warrior. So yes, get your love up, get the love bigger, more softness, expand your softness. I remember that reading so clearly because it was surprising. Now, I'm not saying that Rami the human should never do things that strengthen Rami the human and make them feel strong and protected and do awesome, whatever the fuck Rami wants to do. What's it called? Martial arts or dance or whatever. I'm saying that what I was shown in the records about Rami, for example, just because that's a perfect example. I thought of them just a minute ago. Is some people's way of being a part of the battle is to be the peacemaker.
Yeah.
Some people are meant to be with the, armor on and the sword, and you go fight.
The knight.
Yeah. And some people are meant to be the shaman that the knights go to.
Right. We need the healers, we need the shamans, we need the warriors, we need them all. So
then I was thinking to bring it back to what we thought we would do here today. I'm like, well, shit, if Biden wins, do we need to do this right now?
Fuck yeah. Here's why. I'll tell you, you probably already had something to say about that, but absolutely we do in so many ways, if for no other reason that we still know, and this is one of those things where, all my friends who are people of color are like, oh, fucking surprise. Welcome, welcome to. I'm still so in shock that after 4 years of Trump, it's still a horse race. It's still a barely 50 to 49% horse race between these two guys, right?
You're surprised by that?
I think a lot of people are. Okay. I expected it to still be, close-ish, but come on. Really?
Oh.
It's still 50-50. Come on.
Right.
That many people are going to hang on to their clear racist oppressiveness, that high a percentage of us. And, so many of my friends are like, it's pretty clear. We are still deeply entrenched, regardless of who wins this. All Biden winning just means we don't have to deal with Trump himself for anymore. Uh-huh. That's all Biden winning means. Doesn't mean that suddenly we're not a racist country at all, or a country divided, or a group of people at odds. So separated. So that's my point being, we are still so clearly separated. There's still such an energy of separation.
Right.
Deeply. So that's what I think.
You're saying that then the healing would be about a healing of the separation?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's what I want.
That's a great idea.
I mean, we could just operate on our nervous systems, which is those of us who are, but that's kind of like just, gather our friends around us and feel good for each other, which is a lovely thing to do.
No, I was planning on it being something for the collective. I just hadn't I hadn't framed it that way, that it would be a healing of the separation. I think that's brilliant. I mean, why not?
Hey, anything we can do. Desmond.
Katie, is it possible for you to open the records of everybody who voted for Kanye West?
Yeah.
And just wonder and just ask, what's the deal?
Okay. Is what the fuck a direct enough question for the record keepers to answer?
I mean, I can answer that one for you now.
Let's lay it on
Chaos Muppets of the world.
Yeah, I think you could answer it too. But I hear what you're saying. It's fully nutty.
This is like of all the years to throw your vote away.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And these people would argue, well, that's the exact reason to do it then. If you're someone who operates that way, that far, that you're voting for. Also, you got to really ask, why the fuck, who put him on the ballot?
He did.
He did?
Yeah, absolutely. He ran a campaign. Didn't he ultimately, he's the vice presidential Green candidate or Peace and Freedom? I think he's the vice presidential candidate for some down ticket.
No, because his name's on the ballot. It's not someone and Kanye. It's
okay. I thought it was him for vice president. All right. Well,
that just speaks to Kanye's meds being off.
Yeah, Kanye is just.
I just feel for Kanye. He's just got so much going on. My God.
He's the Dennis Rodman of now.
But worse. Meanwhile, fucking Kim Kardashian is showing up like a warrior. Have you heard about what she's up to? Yeah, David Letterman had her on his current show.
Yeah.
And she's becoming a lawyer. So get this. You'll love this, Cass. Who are you texting right now?
I was looking up Kanye West president situation.
I'll wait.
No, I get nothing.
Oh.
He conceded defeat, by the way. Kanye has, conceded.
How generous of him. He conceded defeat.
Okay, so what is Kardashian doing?
Kim Kardashian did something recently. I'm going to speak very terribly about it because I'm not educated enough. I just saw this one interview that I thought was amazing. But she did something for people of color. There was wait, let me get it right. Maybe it was a wrongly incarcerated woman. Oh, God damn it. Now I've forgot it. I just saw this last night. That's shitty. But it was either a wrongly incarcerated woman of color, and she worked with Trump, went to the White House to get this woman pardoned or to get these people liberated from whatever it was. It was a race issue. And she did all this political work using her Instagram power and her influence to do something very meaningful for people who were really fucked over, and then realized, okay, you know what? I have power and influence. I've done all the money stuff. I have all the money in the world. What am I going to make more money? That's it. And then she's like, no, I think I'll be a lawyer now. She's getting a fucking law degree, and she's going to she's like, yeah, it's going to take 5 years. And Letterman's like, you're going to, what? You're going to really 5 years? You have time? She's like, no, but I'm going to do it. Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
How badass is that?
That's great.
That's a woman in this culture doing a full 180 for the right reasons, just cause.
That's amazing.
She's a woman who's fully seen for her ass. And she didn't let that fucking stop her. She's like, that's fine. Look at my ass while I go ahead and change the fucking world.
Yeah.
You fucking go. And then Letterman's interviewing her on the current Letterman show. What's it called?
My next guest.
Introduction. And Kanye's in the audience, and Kanye's doesn't look great. He's got a hoodie on and sunglasses, and he's all bearded up, and he looks not well. He doesn't look good. And I'm not saying, all I'm really saying is this bitch is carrying forward. Shit is going on in the world. She even said, so Letterman, and then we'll go into the records, I promise. But Letterman says to her, did people have trouble with you with the fact that you worked with the Trump administration to get these people liberated. She said, of course. Everyone I know said to me, don't work with Trump to do this. You can't work with Trump. It'll ruin your reputation. And she said, and I thought, these people's lives are going to end if I don't take action. So it's their life or my reputation. What's the priority? And she didn't give a fuck. She's like, yeah. I've had a reputation. I did the reputation thing. I got it. Now, what am I going to do that's useful? Oh, and my husband's a mess and he thinks he can run for president. And he's falling apart in public right here, right now in this room we're sitting in. But I'm going to be a lawyer and change the fucking world. Like, I just cannot love her more. I fucking love her now. Love.
I'm really glad to hear that, because I was like, why is he having her on this? Because, like, does he need to up her line? But he does if it's this kind of a content. Yeah.
It just made me so happy. Kim Kardashian is a peaceful, gentle, she's like a giraffe. She's like long and tall, and you're looking at her crazy body. But while she's moving, you're like, wow, there's a lot of grace there. She's very graceful. People are constantly in interviews with her being like, so, you just show the world your ass. That's your whole career. And she's like RBGing it. She's always like, people like to look at other people's bodies, and my body has been a commodity. And also we have these products and I really believe in them. And she's politically effective because she's not reactive. It's amazing to watch her in interviews. People really underestimate that woman. And I never felt confident to say it until she made this move to being a lawyer. And now you better believe I'm going to be a loud Kardashian supporter.
Nice.
She's badass. Okay. So we're going to do something for the collective to break down the walls of separation betwixt us. Is that what we're doing?
Sure. I don't know.
Well, I just want to
I'm with that.
Yeah, that feels good. I think what I thought we were going to do, which is why I had the response, are we even doing this? Is because if Trump won, we have to console a lot of people's hearts and bring some healing through. But if Biden's going to win, the first thought I had was, well, one, we're going to have a lot of angry Trumpers who are going to maybe do some crazy shit. Like, we could see orphanages getting shot with guns and Black people being murdered in the street. Like, there could be a big reaction from Trump supporters for Biden winning. So the collective could use healing on that front anyway. That, when you said, I'm sure you have a response to that, that was my response. It's like, I imagine that the more volatile elements of the collective not getting what they want are going to have some feelings and make some choices that could not be very peaceful or loving. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Desmond?
What I would want, if I could ask anything of the general population, is kind of like what we were talking about, like the reactiveness, and instead of, like, for a long time now, every 4 years, the other side just yanks as hard as they can on the rope to gain as much power as possible. And I understand that if Biden wins, half the country's going to feel like they lost, but you fucking haven't. And if you feel like there's something you did lose, just kind of tug on the rope a little bit and just, maybe get back a little bit more of your tax return or whatever it was that you were voting for Trump for. I understand why people, if you feel like you lost something in this election, you didn't lose the whole fucking pie. This is not a zero-sum game. So
how is it not a zero-sum game?
Because it's not like every policy changes on January 1st, or every policy that Trump is backing is going to go through on January 1st.
Right.
So this is not a zero-sum game. And even though whoever wins tips the balance of power a little bit, don't freak out and reach for the whole pie. Just vote in your local election and try to get that little slice back that you think you lost in the presidential. And I realize this isn't a good question to ask I don't really think you can ask this of the collection, but it just got my mind running of like, what if I could ask something of the record keepers or of the population, what would I ask them to? And it's like, just try to get back that little slice you think you lost and don't pretend like someone just stole your whole pie, because they didn't.
So I hear you. I hear what you're saying. the way I would frame what you're saying is you're asking people who are in an irrational state of mind to be rational. Sure.
So act accordingly. and in 4 years, this all happens again. I can't believe anybody who's over 40 and freaks out at every election. It's fucking amazing to me that 60-year-olds are like, well, we're done. I guess we're just going to be Russia now. It's like, really? You've lived through this every 4 years your whole life, and it's all over in 2020. Like, just wait 4 years, cast your vote. We'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Right. I think if we could just say to people, act rationally and calm down, and then they would do that, we don't need to do a healing.
Well, but I want to give them, but that's why I'm trying to be like, I understand why you're going to try to grab for a few more points, you know, like it's like a football team that's still going to lose the game, but you want that touchdown just to make it a little bit closer. Like, yeah, you know, get that touchdown, you know, get that Senate, get that House, you know, tell your boss to go fuck himself. I don't know.
Well, I feel like this still is relevant to the idea of separation. Like it can address, if we're addressing the separation, we're addressing that the win-lose thing is
my point.
Yeah.
The idea that you're losing anything is coming from an energy of separation. So we're going to do a separation healing. My point being, you're right, of course, Desmond, but like people who are in separation can't act from unity. You're asking them to act from love consciousness, which is peaceful, middle of the road, don't overreact, etc. And I'm saying, right, but we're going to have to give them some spiritual juju to help them get there, I think, because they're not there. You're there, we're there. But when you rationally say to an irrational person, hey, be rational, they go, fuck you, here's more guns. They hear separation, they push back with more fire, and then we have war. Because the ego is in operation. So I think you're right on it, but we're going to try to like, maybe to your point here, it's like, let's do a little ego death work for the collective. Let's try to kill the ego off a little more.
For 100 million people.
Let's do it. You ready? I love your idea. And instead of just saying it to them, we're going to try to sneak attack them from the soul level. Okay. All right. I'm just sitting with the framing of all of this. Okay. All right. So let's take a couple deep breaths. Everyone listening, try to feel into your heart center and feel into your low belly and feel into your throat and feel into the center of your head and feel into the root or the base of your spine, right where your genitals meet the chair, and feel into the very top center of the top of your head, the crown of your head. And become aware of the line of energy that connects all those points through the middle of you. And as you become aware of all those points through the middle of you that connect into a line, become aware of how that pulls your posture to a straighter position ever so slightly. Visualize a sphere of light, like the size of a softball, at the base of your spine or where the genitals meet the chair. And a sphere of light inside the middle of your pelvic floor, and a sphere of light the size of a softball inside your third chakra at your solar plexus, below your heart and above your belly button, right in the middle of you, and a sphere of light the size of a softball at your heart center, golden or white light, and a sphere of light in the center of your throat the size of a softball, and a sphere of light the size of a softball in the center of your head and at the crown of your head. 7 balls of light. Now see each of those balls of light expanding to get a little bit bigger so that the edges of each ball touches the edges of the ball above it and the ball below it, or the sphere, I should say, so we don't get giggly. And then those spheres, all 7 of them, continue to expand until they become one tall, long channel of whitish, bluish light running through the middle of our bodies and running above our heads infinitely upward and below our seat infinitely downward. A nice, long, tall, strong line of energy. And this is what I tend to call the midline, or the the central channel or the tunnel that runs through us, connecting us to the infinite beyond. I mean, and so we do acknowledge from here the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth, capital T, as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. Holy Spirit of God, please protect me from all forms of self-centeredness and direct my attention to the work at hand. Help me to know the entire collective of humanity in the light of the Akashic records, to see the collective of humanity through the eyes of the lords of the records. And please enable me to share the wisdom and the compassion that the masters, the teachers, and the loved ones of the collective entirety of humanity have for the collective consciousness of humanity. And I'll go quiet for a moment. And so as we sit in alignment with the soul and the Akashic records of the collective consciousness of all human beings on this gorgeous planet we live on, Allah, we're asking now, lords, masters, and teachers of the Akashic records of the collective consciousness of humanity, the whole freaking thing of it, please, we're asking for a healing of the places inside our collective that still reach, strive, and yearn for separation. Egoic separation. That yearn and strive and Allah reach for the inflation of the small self and the murder of the collective consciousness of unity and oneness that could flow between each human heart, from one human heart to another. We're asking for facilitation now, clearing, uncreating, destroying, eliminating, eradicating, and dissipating the entire fabric of the value of separation, rightness, wrongness, judgment, goodness, badness, bringing us into the vibrational frequency as a collective of love. Allah. I'm asking now to lords, masters, and teachers of the collective consciousness of humanity that all the structures within our collective heart and our individual hearts that keep our need for defensive protecting of our small self and egos, the structures that keep the need for the defending and the upholding of our defensive structures and egos, please tear them down now, within us, right now. Everywhere we think we have to defend against one another, kill one another, dominate one another, destroy one another, and hurt one another. Please clear it from us now. I know that the divine light is stronger than the darkness. We stand in awareness of how painful it is to be separate. And we ask you, please, all that is light, all that is conscious, all that is of God, and the divine source of creation, that you please break apart. Right now, please dissipate and release, break apart, dissipate and release all the separation and the hate that we can handle to have broken apart. Please up-level our frequency as a collective. Please pull through us. Everything we can release into the light. All the shaitanic darkness, the evil that we're married to as a collective. Astaghfirullah Ladim, on behalf of the great vast expanse of humanity. Astaghfirullah Ladim. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah ladeen. Yes, and I bow my mind to the supremacy of the heart of the, the light of God on behalf of the collective, and I beg for our hearts to be returned to face the light, which is what this phrase translates to. Astaghfirullah ladeen. I turn myself to face you, divine light. Astaghfirullah ladeen. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah ladeen. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah ladeen. Astaghfirullah. 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 Nobody here is afraid of you. Nobody here is afraid of this darkness. I'll just keep asking for you to take it. Every angel, every unemployed angel, every archangel, the Akashic beings of light of the humanity, of the collective consciousness of humanity, please pull this through. Please support my being in holding this space. Support humanity in holding this light and this pull of grounding. Allah, we ground ourselves to the center of the earth. And we ground ourselves through the light of God. We ask for more clearing of more separation, more clearing of more hate, more clearing of more oppression. And the structures that hold hate, separation, and oppression in place, please. Please, Lords, Masters, Teachers, pull them through now. These energies, turn them into light. Please, for the collective. Keep me strong, please. Okay, all of the karma for all of the wrongdoing and all of the harm we have caused one another as a race, all genders and all races, all of the harm across all nations and places and spaces, all of the collective karma, please clear it now. Pull it through the records of the collective to the degree that we can handle. And to the degree that it can make a difference, please bring this karma to present time. Bring it to completion. We are so sorry. We are so sorry. I stand for all the hearts of humanity who are willing and ready and able to own their part in oppression, separation, punitive murder, rape, domination of others. I stand in the collective heart, in the aspects of the collective heart that are ready to repent and apologize and release our need to hold our rightness and our oppressive power over others in place and everything creating those structures. I give it to you now. And we ask that you take it. Lords, Masters, Teachers, from all of us that will give it, and from those who won't quite give it, but maybe could be convinced. I stand in the name of all of us willing to give it all back to you, to the light, to turn us all into a loving race. A race that understands its oneness in a deep place in its own heart, collectively. Allah, astaghfirullah al-azim. Astaghfirullah al-azim. Astaghfirullah al-azim. Astaghfirullah al-azim. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah al-azim. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah al-Azim. Lords, masters, and teachers of the Akashic Records. I don't know if you heard that, but Squeeze the dog just hacked up some phlegm in the background. She's facilitating with us. Lords, masters, and teachers of the Akashic Records, of the collective consciousness of humanity. Thank you for this clearing. I know you're showing me there's another piece here. I feel it in the neck and the throat. Will you clear whatever needs to be cleared now for the collective? Yes. And that is the place in the collective that needs to cry out in grief and in rage and in pain. That feels so unheard and uncared for. And this is the light meeting that place in the heart of the collective. Where you have had no voice. And you have felt you have no place to express. We meet you, we the beings of light, we the divine source. We meet you in your place where you need to express. And we facilitate that expression now. Oh, and all the eons and millennia of people being murdered and killed, raped and strung up, beheaded and hung for saying what was true and just and right and merciful. We're asking for the completion of that karma and for that to be taken and cleared. I forgot I am a visceral healer before we jumped into this. I forgot I would feel every piece of this. Okay, and now every place and space inside of the collective consciousness of humanity that has been relieved of what it's been relieved of here. We ask for it to be filled now with the highest and best Akashic energy and blueprinting that it can now hold as a collective, as a race, and as a team, unified in love. I ask that you please keep me conscious and safe, please, and protected as we do this. Okay, thank you. Yes. Oh my God, if they don't think I'm crazy already, they will now. Okay, and as this filling in occurs, they want me to describe what I'm being shown, which is, if you imagine, each of you listening now, that through that pole, that midline we created at the beginning of this session of light from infinitely down through the middle of you, infinitely up, that white light pole, if you imagine that wrapping around it is a DNA double helix of light that makes up the fabric of the consciousness of the collective of humanity. Okay, imagine that through yourself. Now imagine the collective is a single pole of light running through one body. And we'll say that that one body is the earth, just for now. And you see that double helix wrapping around and through the pole of the earth. As we fill in now, we, the beings of light, from the brightest realms of God's light, that we are pulling through and filling all the places and spaces you cleared today through your collective intention with this white light of unity consciousness. We are pulling it through this double helix. And this double helix is the DNA of the human collective. This is not a metaphor. Will they ever understand that it's not a metaphor? We are one consciousness. We share a single double helix DNA strand connecting us to the all that is. Literally. The beauty is too much to bear. And the sadness of how many will never see, how many refuse to see the beauty is also too much to bear. And so we bear it today. Because we are strong enough, those of us here right now, because we can. This is what we came to do. Oh my God. The laughter is a release as well. When you hear me laughing maniacally, it is a release and an alignment of our double helix DNA collective strand, realigning with light. And in the realm of light, there is levity. Why would you not choose it? Why would you not choose oneness and brightness when there is levity there? Don't you prefer to laugh? And they're thanking me now. And I thank you for helping us. We need so much help. We're so fucked up. Thank you for helping us. You could have abandoned us long ago. And they say it is never in our nature to abandon a heart that yearns for the divine. It is not in our nature to abandon the double helix consciousness of the collective that yearns to be returned to its light center. It may sometimes think it doesn't want the light, but we know better. And so we stand ready to assist you any moment you request it. Namaste. Okay, and so I'm asking from myself, is there more? No. Thank you for this time and this healing. Just bless us. Please take care of us. Bring us higher than we think we can go. Protect those of us listening now, please. Our organs and our bodies and our nervous systems. Our communities and our families and our hearts. Amen. And so I want to thank the Lord's masters and teachers and their loved ones for their love and compassion The Lords of the Records for their point of view, and the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. And I want to thank the collective of humanity, the collective consciousness, for letting us work with you. I ask that you now return, for God's sake, the energy of the collective to itself now. And the energy of all of humanity back to itself, and all the individuals back to themselves. I ask that you return the entire collective consciousness of humanity to its complete human wholeness now. Okay. Okay. Please return the entire collective consciousness of humanity back to itself. All the individual human energies back to themselves. The divine portal and the Akashic records for the collective consciousness of humanity are now closed. Amen. The divine portal and the Akashic records of the collective consciousness of humanity are now closed. Amen. Oh boy. The divine portal and the Akashic records of the collective consciousness of humanity are now closed. Amen. 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 Return us, please, all to our complete human wholeness. Return the collective to itself. Amen. Closed. Almost there. Okay. I'm just working to bring myself fully back just to my body. And thank you, everyone, for being here with us tonight and doing this together. I should have said before we started, please don't be driving a car if you're listening to this. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put a note at the beginning on this one.
I just never felt so humbled by this work before. That was so much energy. I can't. I wish I could take you inside and see it, show it to you. It's so real, and if people could see that, they would never fight each other and they would never have war. I remember when I was a child and I used to have these grand visions for what we were going to do for people, humanity, just what we were going to all do. And part of the grief for me right here is just, I can feel all the places in my own heart that just got blown back open after years of just trying to survive as an adult on this planet, and the ways that we close our hearts to possibility because of how painful it is to see so much limitation and so much refusal to be connected and to have our hearts open. It's so painful for us that we just close off and survive. And they're just kind of touching me back into my own idealism and my own wishes and dreams for humanity to be well.
I can really feel the expanded energy from what just happened and I just witnessed, and just your energy, Katie, and the way it made me feel. And there's no way this positive energy can't have a positive effect. And if people out there listening have half the reaction I did, this is going to emanate far beyond these 3 squares that I'm looking at.
Thank you.
I feel so oxygenated. I'm dehydrated because I cried a lot, so I have to drink some water. But
yeah, I feel humbled, like you said, Katie. Like that was really humbling to just be in the presence of the enormity of it.
Yeah.
Oof. Taking one for the team, Katie. You went in. You went way in. You were swimming in some tumultuous oceans.
I'm not sure I'm going to be very articulate for the next few moments, so perhaps we should call it.
Wrap it up.
Thank you, guys. And thank you, everyone. And please take care of yourselves after that, and drink water, rest if you need to, lay on your back on the ground.
Hydrate.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything else to say. No. Okay, so actually, sorry. They want me to stay and talk to you guys for just a minute because I need to come back a little more to my own self here. Maybe we don't publish this part, or maybe we do. I don't know, but I just have to just talk to you guys for a minute, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know how to talk though.
What are you having for dinner, Katie?
My dog is here. That's good. Yes, hello.
There's your grounding. I was going to say, I wish I could just be sitting across from you and we could just do a little hand gripping.
Look how she showed up. She's sitting on my shoulders right now.
Grounding energy, but your dog knows what's up.
God.
Weasel knows.
She's amazing. Look at this. She's straight up. Okay, now here's the trippy. This spot she's sitting on.
Your dog's a cat.
So let me explain something, please, if you don't mind. Come here. You're done? She's like, I'm done. I did my job. Okay. The place where she sat she was straight up on right here on the back of my neck. That's the place where they talk about, for people who channel, a lot of times the back of the neck is the portal to the other dimensions, and you'll see the infinity shape run in your third eye, run through the place in your body that is the doorway to the other dimensions, and it's definitely right there for me. And I was so expanded from that energy that I was having a hard time kind of like fully coming back in. So she sat right on it, and I didn't realize
she plugged the hole.
Oh, my beast of healing light.
Yeah.
And then it just grounded me.
What she needed.
Listen, this dog, okay, like my buddy Chad was here, who we had on the podcast. When Chad was here recently, he did some healing work, and he was working with like my pelvic floor and like doing some deep like lady stuff, not like inappropriately, but immediately it's super vulnerable, right? And so this beast came running up onto my crotch and sat her body between my legs and put her head on my vagina. Like that's just like, boom, like her little, arrow-shaped head just right on top. And it was like, Chad said, good healer dog. And I remember that so much because she comes right where you need her. She's a wizard. She's a wizard dog. Thank you. Oh my God. And I'm reminded of a story that I feel I should share when I studied with this woman in Sedona. And I was telling you guys about it was a profound experience. And then there was some like really human weird shit that went on. But one of the profound things that happened was, and okay, I'm reminded of this because this is a version of that. And they're showing me how the same, that we were in the forest. We were in this forest along this river in Sedona. I won't keep you long, but we'll wrap up with this story here. And we're sitting in a circle, and this woman is channeling Jesus Christ, which is big energy. And it's kind of profound, and I'm feeling it all through my body. And I start to speak in Arabic, and I'm unable to stop doing it out loud. It's just coming out of me, these Arabic prayers. And this other girl in the circle starts to speak in tongues, like a light language. It wasn't tongues, it was a light language. And we're both like chanting in this forest. And I'm aware that people are around and we're in this group and I'm not supposed to be doing this. It's like this ladies' retreat. And I cannot stop it. The woman leading the thing ends up stopping, like she like blows up the Jesus energy more. She kind of yells, "Stop it!" Or she yelled something that stopped it. We stopped, and it was like I watched myself stop. I didn't have control. And shortly thereafter, I think it was after, a snake came slithering into our group from outside the circle. It slithered down and around all the people, came right up to me. I'm terrified of snakes. Not terrified, but not stoked. Came right up to me, and I panicked and went, "Ah!" Like I did a shocked energy like this. It did a fucking infinity symbol shape with it. It went infinity symbol shape, and then it slithered off to the right. And that is the same thing of this dog being in the vibrational consciousness of where we of everything. Like animals are in tune, right? They're just in tune. We get in our attunement way with these minds we have. So she's so in tune to what's occurring. Did I tell you? I said out loud, right? She was hacking up a lung when I was hacking up a lung in the middle of that. Yeah. Did you guys hear the hack?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's clearing stuff.
It'll be on the tape.
Perfect. And then she comes over and handles me in the same way that in the forest, that fucking snake was like, "I am here. You have dominion over me. I am with you. We are one. I'm acknowledging that the, human, God, animal, kingdom, one thing. I'm responding. I'm present. I'm making my presence known. I need to look up the significance of the snake totem. I never looked it up. I never looked it up. Anyway, I just was getting that while I was saying it. So that's all. Boy, howdy. I guess because I've worked with the collective before, I didn't expect that to be so intense for me personally in my body. I didn't know I'd be like processing the emotions of the collective in my body. I thought it would be like, cool, some light moved. But it was like every healing I've ever done on a lot of steroids. Like the amount of steroids that an entire population of a planet could take.
Jesus.
And you know what's funny about it?
Wow.
I thought too, while it was happening, I was thinking, like, I was having this awareness. They were like, you beat yourself. This is funny, by the way. They're like, you beat yourself up for eating sugar too much. You have to have a lot of you to do this. I'm like, oh, I can't be some little twig woman.
You can have that ice cream now, Katie. I think you
don't even want it now. I don't want it.
Right.
But that was a cool thing to get, that like, I've got to have a bit of a base here for this system to hold. Not, I'm not saying you have to be obese to be a healer. I'm saying being an average sized lady is not terrible if you're trying to fucking heal the planet.
You need some calories to burn.
I guess.
But you got to have them to burn them. Oh, that was amazing. I think we did our work. You did your work.
What are you asking for? All of the answers? Say what? All of the answers? Yeah, all the answers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us with your questions so that we have questions to answer in the Akashic Records. Our email address is allanswerspod@gmail.com. That's allanswerspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook or Twitter, it's @allanswerspod, @allanswerspod. Thank you.
Well,
kind of feel like you did it on behalf of a lot of us right there.
Yeah, I've never felt anything like that ever. I don't think I knew I was capable of that. That was really, really cool and difficult, but cool. Go watch America's Got Talent now.
Yeah.
If you're not going to eat the ice cream, that's the least you can do, Katie.
It is kind of the ice cream of entertainment.
That was a Sounds Awesome production.